So I fully sympathize with those who have raised complaints about short-term rentals that sparked this entire conversation around a potential short-term rental ordinance. Several years ago, my brother and I lived in the family house that we grew up in. It was one of those 30 to 35 house, never occupied, entirely single-family residential neighborhoods where everyone had been living there for 30 plus years and where everyone knew everyone on a first-name basis. When one of the owners decided to rent out their house to what can best be described as absolutely degenerate tenants, the situation became an unbearable headache, as these degenerate tenants brought a larceny-driven crime wave with their degeneracy that the neighborhood had never seen, and the owner didn't get the message until what felt like the 50th 3 a.m. visit from the police. So my sympathy is not in vain, nor is it disingenuous. With that said, I'm still not very keen on telling people what to do with their private property. You bought the land. You bought the house. Who am I to tell you what to do with your property? To that effect, was my experience the result of a landlord who was too lax in her letting? Or was it the result of the mere fact that it was a rental? I wonder how many rentals are within spitting distance of this building in which aren't having the cops called on their tenants' felonies 3 days a week. And I wonder how many houses on the lake in this post-COVID era are only occupied because of the technologies that have allowed the owners to convert their homes to short-term rentals for at least part of the year. I'd venture to guess there are hundreds of these short-term rentals throughout New Milford. Ignoring the obvious tax windfall from having residents that effectively pay a tax bill but don't have, for example, their kids enrolled in New Milford public schools, how many of those homes would be abandoned if not for these technologies? We have several firemen in the room right now. I'm sure they can tell you just how much more of a fire hazard and risk an unoccupied building is compared to one that is occupied, even if only via short-term rentals. We could get even more granular and nitpick the language of the potential ordinance. If we're calling a short-term rental a 7-day rental, why define it at 7 days? Why not 6? Why not 8? There are 168 hours in 7 days. Why not 167 hours? Why not 169 hours? If it's because there are other towns using 7 days, why are they using 7 days? If all of this is somehow pegged to a statute of some sort, why did the writers of that statute pick 7 days? The thing is, we don't have to get to that level of granularity, though we can. I know some people either in the room or watching at home, or both, cringe at the sight of me speaking publicly in the town I live in. That's all the more reason for you to not want me to tell you what to do with your property. And that's what this boils down to. If the handful of complaints out of what are probably thousands of annual short-term rental agreements are the basis for an ordinance, I would suggest the issue is not the short-term rentals themselves, and I'd suggest the use of force is quite clearly not the solution. Speaking of which, I come with solutions. One big one is in your pockets right now. Pull out your phone, take a video recording of clowns being clowns, post the video on the New Milford, Connecticut Facebook page for its 25,000 members to see, tell folks this is what's happening at this house at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, tell them the property is owned by whoever, tag their profile, tell folks they're renting the house at, let's say, Airbnb.com, and link the listing. If you can muster even a handful of one-star reviews in short succession as a result of that share, I promise you, the way those websites work, this house will never get rented again. Shame is a good thing when applied where it's due, and it's a much more favorable option when the imposition of force is its counterpart. Please oppose any further consideration toward a short-term rental ordinance. Thank you.